Hey, how's it going, guys? Alright, so today we're gonna learn how to make gnocchi from scratch so we can freeze it and save it for future recipes. Alright, so let's get to it. Alright, so to start off, we're gonna need 4 russet potatoes here. We're gonna bake these, not boil them. Alright, so we're gonna need some salt. Some fresh parsley. I usually freeze my parsley if I don't use it all for other recipes. About a cup and a half of flour and 1 to 2 eggs. Alright, so we're gonna start off by poking some holes on the potatoes so that they can release the steam because we don't want any moisture on the potatoes. So that just releases all the water, all the steam, it just steams it out. Then we're gonna put a bed of salt underneath. Again, it's all salt dehydrates, so it just takes all the moisture that comes out. And also seasons it a little bit, obviously. So we're gonna put some on top. Alright, so we're gonna bake these at 350 for about an hour or until fork tender. Meanwhile, while the potatoes are baking, we're gonna grab the parsley. We're just gonna chop it up. It doesn't have to be finely chopped, we just want some flavor on it. We just want to mix everything with the gnocchi after. Alright, so the potatoes are baked. They are very hot right now. As you can see, once I cut this, all the steam coming out. So you gotta be careful with this step. So we're gonna cut them in half. Let them steam a little bit just to release any extra moisture, and then we're gonna scoop it out. So they're have almost like a boiled potato like feel to it, so you can mash them this way. So I'm just gonna scoop all these out right now. Please be careful, it's very hot right now. You want to do it while it's hot so it's easier to work with. And then mash them up. So if you have a ricer, please use a ricer. It's so much better, it'll be a lot finer. I don't have one, so I'm using a masher. It will be a little clumpy at the end, unfortunately. So once it's all mashed, we're gonna put it in a cutting board. A wooden cutting board works perfectly. I had a plastic one. I just realized too I did have a wooden table, so I should have used that. But it's an easy cleanup. So it's a little warm. What do you want to do? It's almost like making pasta. You want to make a well right in the center of it. You want to put some flour just to help the egg stick to it so it doesn't go anywhere. And we're gonna crack an egg there. Like I said, it's 1 to 2 eggs. I only used 1 for this one. So we're gonna smash it out. Use your hands. Your hands are your best tools. I should have put more flour there. As you can see, the egg's all runny. I should have definitely put more flour in it. But we live and learn, right? This is a home recipe, not a restaurant recipe, so mistakes will happen, and that's the beauty of cooking. You learn with it. You learn as you go. Alright, so we're gonna put more flour, and you wanna gently keep folding it. You don't want to knee it, you just want to fold gently. And you keep putting more flour as you go until it gets to the right consistency. You don't want it too dry, but you don't want it too runny either, too wet. You also put the parsley in to mix everything. As you can see, I found the consistency that I want. It's like tough, but not so tough where I can't cut it. You know what I mean? It's not purely flour. As you can see, it's a nice dough consistency. Nice and soft. Alright, so time for cleanup. Alright, so next step is we're gonna roll the dough, the gnocchi dough. So we're gonna put some flour on the table, and we're gonna flour our hands as well. That way it prevents the dough from sticking. So we're gonna Grab the dough. We're gonna cut it into 4 equal sizes. So if you have a bench scraper, perfect. If not, then a knife is just fine. So you want to cut it in half and then in half again. 4 equal pieces. Put 3 pieces aside, and we're gonna grab the dough, and like Play-Doh, we're gonna roll them up into like a cigar shape, into a very thin tube. So as you can see, I'm using the tip of my fingers instead of my palm to roll. So I'm starting from the center and rolling it out. That way it keeps it a nice even size throughout the whole thing. So you want to roll until it's about this size. I'll show you here. So the thickness is about this, about a ½ inch thick. Roll one more time, and then you want to cut it. Cut the tape off just so everything is nice and consistent. And you want to cut about fingers length, maybe 1 to 2 fingers length. That is just up to you how big you want them. And then you just cut them all in uniform, just like so. Alright, so there's a few ways you can do these. I like to poke a little hole with my finger and then like a little pillow. Another way you can do it is roll it up into a ball, grab the back of the fork and gently roll it down the fork. That way you have this nice shape. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this shape of the gnocchi. So what it does, the hole in the little seams, it just helps keep the sauce together. Then we're just gonna try to put them in nice and uniformed, nice and organized into the tray, so it's easier to scoop it out later on. You'll see when we cook them. And we're gonna roll the rest of it. Alright, so now what we're gonna do is put a pot of water with some salt in it to boil. And once it's boiling, we're gonna start putting some of them in it. You don't want to put too much. You just want to maybe cover it 75% of a layer on the bottom of the pot. And it should take about a couple minutes. The way you know it's done is when it rises to the top. Like I said, it takes about 2 to 3 minutes when it's nice and boiling, and that should be enough. So you see how it rose to the top? That's how you know it's done. So if you're cooking a sauce, you can go straight from the water into the sauce. But we are freezing these today, so what we do is put them on scoop them up, put them on some paper towel to release all the water, because we want them nice and dry. If you want to sear them and everything, so you don't want any moisture if we sear them. So we put them in a paper towel and we pat dry them a little bit. We want them nice and dry. They will get a bit sticky at this point, and that's totally normal. That's just the starches from the sugars and the starches from the potatoes. That's just normal. And we want to, like I said, keep them very organized. It's just easier later on. Put them in a tray or a plate, depending on what you have around. And once you're done with that, we're just gonna do is pop them in the freezer. I have a chest freezer, so it's much easier for me. And we want to pop them even uncovered, just for about 10-15 minutes, just until they get nice and hardened like so. So they're easier to move around, so they don't stick around. So I'm just gonna take this out of the tray here, and we're gonna portion them, and this is it. It's how you make gnocchi from scratch at home. Thank you so much for watching, guys.